Welcome. And Amy, I'm so glad that you're here. I want to thank you for joining. You are the Director of Operations at Dillon Business Advisors, and you are the person who has helped hundreds of people ranging from other accounting firms with their tech, their business strategy, and team education. So welcome. I'm glad you're here. And Lezlie, it's nice to meet you. Just from learning a little bit about you, it seems like you've got a very generous heart and a compassion for helping businesses to thrive. And you are a certified public accountant at Dillon Business Advisors. So I'm glad that you're both here, and I'll pass it over to each of you on how you would describe yourself and the work that you do at Dillon Business Advisors.
Thank you, Liz. It is great to be here with you and Lezlie. As Director of Operations, I am just making sure that everyone has what they need in order to service their clients, to get the work done, to understand where handoffs are happening at. And there's probably 5,000 other things that I do all the time, but that summarizes it.
Yeah, I love that. You're kind of that orchestrating the whole scene.
Yeah, she helps us all. Yes, I'm Lezlie, and I am the Director of Accounting and Advisory at DBA. I also serve our clients as client CFO. So in my role, I am supporting the 3 pods that we have in our CAS department. Each of those pods is led by a CFO and then a client controller and a client service manager. Rounds out the team of 3 for each CAS client. And so I work closely with all 3 pods, making sure that our processes are good in place, that we are delivering the best client experience we can, and really have a passion for advisory on the business side and the firm side, just coming alongside people, being able to ask questions, being curious as to where they are, how they got there, and then help them problem solve where to take it to the next level.
Oh my gosh, Lezlie, you're a girl after my own heart. I absolutely love advisory. I love those client conversations and aha moments. It changes everything.
Yes, I think walking into a room and knowing you're not the expert and your job is just to uncover more and help others uncover more is a really fun place to be.
100%. And, Amy, leaning back into kind of orchestrating everything, I want to set the tone here because, oh my goodness, you have a lot to orchestrate. So let me kind of give some insights as to what's happening at Dillon Business Advisory. You have over 1,100 clients. There are 26 team members, and you've got a mix of both US based and offshore teams. So that's a lot going on and a lot of different time schedules. And then you also have a niche. So medical, dental, professional services, there's a lot that you do in that space, and it is very unique. And you're also in this time of AI adoption. So you're doing a lot to orchestrate and to create a lot of, I would say, business discipline to keep all of those moving pieces.
Yeah, and we are actually last year at the same time, we were about half the number of clients because in 2025, we did 2 firm acquisitions, one at the very beginning of the year and one towards the end of Q3. So we are drastically different this year than we were last year. So there's a lot of moving pieces with all of the time zones. We are Eastern, Central, Mountain, and Pacific. We have team members and Philippine time zone.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, that's a lot going on. I think about my own firm, which is a baby firm, and there's a lot of operational pressure to just keep things moving. And you talking about growth makes me want to say, everybody's in this place of how do I grow? So do you want to share anything operationally that happened that helped expedite that growth?
So I will say from the acquisition front, right, really thinking through and strategizing when we bring on another firm with clients and team. So both of our acquisitions came with team members and clients. What does that actually look like? What technology are we keeping? What technology are we getting rid of? When are we migrating data? When are we shutting things off? When are we training the team? When are we communicating to clients? So a very long timeline in Excel was very helpful on when did everything need to happen and at what date, so then we could mark and say where we were at in our progress.
I think accountants are really great at structure. So we're in the checklist. We have to have that. And it's funny to hear you call out Excel, because I think that so many of us started with this love of Excel, and you get to a point that you outgrow it. There's still this desire to have that structure and the ability to check things off, but I would say that having a centralized workflow tool, a centralized place to be able to come back and to lean into, especially with the size of the team, is very important. So I guess I'll ask this question: how does your technology support that vision?
So we do, we are in the, I'm going to say app fatigue. We are reversing app fatigue is where we're at. So a very intentional focus on how do we reduce the number of apps that we are using, which we have continuously been doing over the last number of years, right? And so case in point, we migrated in 24, we migrated away from 2 systems into Canopy. We also migrated, I think like each year before that, we were taking 2 items and we were replacing to 1. So we had like file cabinet and we had an internal file storage system and we moved to SharePoint, everything centralized. We took Onvio and we took Lisio and we migrated into Canopy. And so just trying to streamline the number of places that team members have to log into in order to get their work done, that is our goal.
I love that. And Lezlie, earlier you were talking about, really this centralized place for everybody to come in and to look at the work that to be done, and sharing some of that responsibility. And as one of those team members, how has that impacted you, having great visibility?
I think in prior years, I've been with DBA for 6 years, and over those 6 years, we developed this team of 3. And so it's been really important as we've transitioned and developed our excellent service to have visibility across that team of 3. And so we would have, prior to what we're using now, we would have each an Excel sheet, or maybe we were sharing that Excel sheet with our projects on it. We also had them in another practice management system, but it didn't quite give us the tools that we need. So we were sharing Excel files. We were going in and manually placing an X, or, someone might have their own file because they liked it organized a little differently. And so we were constantly having to ask people where they were, what they need help with. Sometimes when we have team members, we're not sure where they are, and maybe they say I'm almost there, but you can't see like how much time they've actually been working without going into another system. And so I think using Canopy for the project and task management has given us a huge increase of visibility over all of our projects throughout the teams. So as a manager, we can go in and see, we know a deadline is coming up, and someone's got 10 things to close out. We maybe have a day where we've got some free time. What can we do to go in there and help them? And so it just helps that conversation of how can we better help you when we have metrics to work off of.
I think that accountants we tend to be siloed people. We have our structure, we have our process, it lives here. Communication is not always our strength, but we sure as heck know what's going on. And that creates a bit of unintentional chaos. And so what I hear you saying is, going from a reality that many of us do. So there's no shame in this. I'm calling it out because it's real that we do have these siloed ways of working and we unintentionally exclude other people. And so creating a system where you say, all right, we're building this for everybody. We're building this so that way we can collaborate. So that way we know that sometimes our work takes us into a place where we're very heads down. I mean, I think of the horse with blinders. Our work requires our brain to sometimes have those blinders on, but that doesn't mean that we want to become siloed and not communicating with, like what you said, Lezlie. How are we doing? What are we doing? Are we stuck? Are we, in a place that we're overwhelmed at the moment? Did a client throw something at us that we didn't expect and is taking us much longer than anticipated? And so the team, whenever you're in a place that's collaborative, can help each other out. And I think that at the heart of all of us in the accounting profession is we are helpers. And so have you seen a morale boost because of that?
I think so. I know something we recently implemented, and Amy, I will say, Amy is great at everything, but very technical. Amy has ideas of her own, but if I have an idea, I'm usually going to Amy to ask how to make Canopy do that. And so Amy recently helped with the status updates. Is something we recently added a custom status update that says needs assistance or assistance needed, so that if our team member is stuck, they can label that as assistance needed. We know that's internal. Someone else who's looking at the dashboard can see, okay, they're waiting on internal help. And so I think that's just one example of, I think, a breakthrough that is really good for us. We're still shooting teams messages and saying, hey, look at this. But in one place I can see, okay, they need help here. I've got time and I'm going to help them. So I think that is one thing. The other thing I will mention that came to mind as you were talking was we didn't go from our individual to-do lists, checklists overnight. It was that education of be sure to update in Canopy as well. Be sure to do this in Canopy as well. And then as we continue to encourage our team members to do that, we find that they start wanting to lean in that more because they don't want to maintain both. But as leaders, we're holding them accountable that Canopy is the one source for our projects. And Amy has done a great job reminding us all that needs to happen, so that we can do that as a team.
Well, we do. So a couple things to help us with excellent service. We have initiated a get your financials out by the 15th bonus incentive, right? But in order to qualify for that incentive, we are encouraging teamwork. So trying to stay out of silos. So we operated in a team of 3. In order for everyone in the team of 3 to get that financial statement bonus, each person gets it, the financials have to be out by the 15th. So if the CSM completes their piece by the 10th and the controller completes their piece by the 14th, but the CFO doesn't sign off until the 16th, nobody gets that bonus, right? And so that is motivating to, we work in a team, we need to work together. If as a CSM, you're having a hard time, let your controller know so that if they can step in and help, great. Same with the CFO. Well, part of that and making sure that Canopy is accurate is the financial statement bonus gets pulled from Canopy. So if Canopy isn't updated properly, then the financial statement bonus is also not issued. And so we've built dashboards, insights, reports, whatever you want to call them, right? Where we have our financial statements, how many need to get completed by the 15th, how many got completed by the 15th, how many got completed by each person by the 15th, because they get their bonus based off of that. And then I added another one, which is all of the open financials by client. So you could easily see, like if there's a tall bar graph on there, there's a client who they are so behind on their financials right now, and it's not on us. It's on them because they can't get their stuff to us, right? But it helps us to easily identify. So just those are
So
other
real.
ways, yeah, that we're just trying to foster teamwork and accurate information because we are pulling our data from Canopy. So if we need it to be right.
You know, accountants are often said that they're not fun, which is so wrong. And I love, Amy, that you're talking about gamification. That's the biggest incentive right there. If you can get people to partake in the game, if you can get them to self-motivate, to motivate for the team, to see the greater good for everyone, including themselves because of the bonus, you create this game that they can win at. So well done, Amy. That's very exciting.
But we just make it happen. That was a team effort coming up with that incentive.
I really like it. Well, I'll ask one last closing question, and you can both can answer or defer to the other one. But what advice would you give another firm leader who would like to modernize their operations just like you've done, but they feel overwhelmed with all of the choices and the change management?
I'll start, Lezlie, and then you chime in because I think you'll have good stuff. So you have to start somewhere. Pick one thing. When we implemented Canopy, we started purely internal and just for task management. And then we added on the client portal experience, right? And then we enhanced automations in our tax workflow. So you don't have to do all of it. You just have to pick one thing and one step in front of the other.
One step in front of the other. I love that. Lezlie, anything you want to add to that?
Sure. I would say number one, be intentional with the time that you select to migrate to the new system. So doing that in the first quarter when you're swamped is probably not the best idea. And then the other thing that I see with other firms, especially smaller firms who don't have a director of operations, and it is the firm owner also implementing, in charge of implementing all the software, is to ask for help. Forums, communities, things like that, where they can come alongside people and say, who has done this? How would you do it differently now? Even using a consultant to help do that, just not going it alone. I see some people wanting to make big changes like something like this and just not having the capacity to do it, right? So it's worth the investment to get the help to move yourself forward.
That is extremely real, that we need to ask for help whenever we get overwhelmed. There's no shame in asking for help. That's the whole reason that I think that we do so well when we go to conferences, is we're sharing with each other our real world situations, and they're hard. We have a hard profession, but both of you ladies have proven that you can do hard things and have a whole lot of fun and be very compassionate about what you're doing. So thank you both for joining today.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you, Liz.